How long can a nation resist an invasion? This question loomed large during the 20th century as Nazi forces stormed across Europe, marking the start of World War II. The dread wasn't just about the unknown, but a warning of the approaching chaos and destruction. This is Modern Historian, and today we dive into the timeline of Nazi invasions and resistance movements in Europe, examining how long each European country stood up to the Nazi onslaught during World War II. Understanding the background and context of Nazi expansion is akin to peering into the heart of a storm, as it offers vital insights into the forces that propelled World War II's terrifying turmoil. From 1939 to 1945, the Second World War, precipitated by Hitler's vision of a greater German Reich, a vast racially homogeneous empire that stretched across Europe, claimed over 70 million lives. During this time, each nation faced a colossal struggle, grappling with the monstrous machinery of the Nazi war effort. But then the question arises of how did each country resist the brutal onslaught? What were their strategies, and how did they play out in this theatre of war? Let's begin with Czechoslovakia. In March 1939, mere months before the official start of World War II, Nazi Germany completed the occupation of Czechoslovakia. But beneath this apparent surrender, a resilient spirit was kindling the flames of resistance. Czechoslovakia's resistance was unique, blending overt political defiance with a vast covert network. Despite facing the overwhelming military might of Nazi Germany, this resistance remained unyielding. Various groups, including the Czechoslovak government in exile, the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia, and homegrown defense forces, coordinated efforts to undermine the Nazi regime. The most emblematic display of Czech resistance was Operation Anthropoid, the audacious plan that resulted in the assassination of one of Hitler's top men, Reinhard Heydrich, in 1942. This was a daring act of defiance that sent shockwaves through the Nazi high command. Nevertheless, Czechoslovakia remained under Nazi occupation until the end of the war in 1945. On September 17, 1939, just over 2 weeks after Germany's initial invasion, Poland's official resistance to Nazi forces came to an end. Yet this marked not an end, but the beginning of an extraordinary and steadfast covert resistance movement that would span the entirety of World War II. The Polish resistance was tenacious, comprehensive, and sophisticated, involving a range of covert operations, from gathering intelligence to disseminating underground publications, and from conducting sabotage missions to engaging in armed combat. The primary Polish resistance movement, the Home Army, Armia Krajowa, was a force to be reckoned with. It became one of the largest and most dynamic underground armies in all of Europe, with a force that, at its peak, numbered over 300,000 courageous members. Perhaps the most striking symbol of Poland's unwavering defiance was the Warsaw Uprising in 1944. This was not just a sporadic rebellion, but a carefully planned and executed operation. For 63 dramatic days, Polish resistance fighters took on the formidable Nazi forces in an urban battlefield, hoping for liberation as they saw the Red Army advancing from the east. This was a testament to their indomitable spirit, even in the face of overwhelming odds. However, the odds were indeed stacked against Poland. The country was up against the colossal military might of Nazi Germany, and the geopolitical complexities involving the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union added another layer to the struggle. Despite these formidable challenges and their heroic resistance, Poland remained under Nazi occupation until 1945. If you are enjoying this video, please do support us by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. This helps us continue creating informative content for your enjoyment. When Germany invaded Denmark in 1940, the Danish government chose a strategy of cooperation in order to retain some autonomy and mitigate the negative impacts of occupation. This policy allowed the government to remain functional under Nazi supervision until 1943. Throughout this period, an undercurrent of resistance began to organize among the Danish people, carrying out acts ranging from civil disobedience and strikes to espionage and sabotage. However, by mid-1943, growing civil unrest and strikes caused this cooperation policy to falter, leading to direct control by German authorities. On August 29, 1943, Hitler imposed martial law, effectively ending Denmark's limited independence. Despite the increasingly tight Nazi grip, Denmark's resistance remained robust, owing in part to its strategic geographical location. Just a narrow strait away from neutral Sweden, Denmark had an accessible escape and communication route. This proximity played a crucial role in the remarkable evacuation of nearly 8,000 Danish Jews to Sweden in 1943, saving the majority of Denmark's Jewish population from the Holocaust. It also provided a safe haven for resistance members and facilitated the transfer of vital intelligence to the Allies. Next, we have Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia's tenacious resistance to Nazi invasion stands out as one of Europe's longest and fiercest anti-Nazi struggles during World War II. This remarkable defiance began on April 6, 1941, when Nazi forces commenced their assault. Although the country formally surrendered by April 17th, the spirit of resistance under the charismatic communist partisan leader, Josip Broz Tito, did not dwindle. Instead, it ignited a robust campaign of defiance that would persist throughout the war, showcasing Yugoslavia's resilience against Nazi forces. In 1941, as Yugoslavia quickly fell to the Nazis, two primary resistance movements emerged: the royalist Chetniks, led by Draza Mihailovic, and the partisans, galvanized by the communist leader Josip Broz Tito. Despite ideological differences, these groups initially united to combat the Nazis. The rugged Yugoslav terrain, brimming with mountains, forests, and hidden valleys, served as an ideal battlefield for partisan guerrilla warfare. They disrupted Nazi supplies, ambushed their forces, and used the terrain for retreats and secure hideouts. Nevertheless, the military prowess of the Nazis and their Axis allies, Italy, Hungary, and Bulgaria, inevitably led to the occupation of Yugoslavia. The resistance, particularly the partisans, remained undeterred, constantly hindering the Nazi operations, steadily regaining territories, and even carving out liberated zones. But by April 17, 1941, Yugoslavia had been completely overwhelmed. The Nazis and their allies swiftly partitioned the country, annexing some areas directly and installing puppet regimes in others. Despite the heroic efforts of the partisans, the immense power of the Nazi war machine resulted in the occupation of Yugoslavia, though facing continued partisan resistance throughout the entire war. France's confrontation with the Nazi forces commenced with the German invasion on May 10, 1940, leading to a swift capitulation just 6 weeks later. This speedy defeat, however, did not quell the spirit of resistance among the French people, which found expression through various means as the war progressed. The French resistance, a collection of diverse groups unified by the goal of liberating France, displayed remarkable fortitude and resourcefulness in their defiance of Nazi occupation. Its membership, although hard to ascertain precisely due to the covert nature of their operations, is estimated to have been in the tens of thousands, with their influence reaching far beyond their numbers. One of the pivotal complexities faced by France was the establishment of the Vichy regime. This was a puppet government established in the unoccupied southern part of France under Marshal Philippe Pétain after the armistice with Germany in 1940. Despite its claim of being neutral, the Vichy government actively collaborated with the Nazi regime, implementing anti-Semitic laws and aiding in the deportation of Jews to concentration camps. The existence of this collaborationist government further complicated the fight against Nazi occupation, creating divisions within France itself. Hence, France, like many nations under the thumb of Nazi Germany, found itself grappling with a seemingly insurmountable foe. The Nazi occupation of Greece began on April 27, 1941, after the country's obstinate but ultimately unsuccessful resistance against the Axis invasion. Despite numerous obstacles, such as conflicting political ideologies within the resistance groups themselves, harsh reprisals from the occupiers, and the devastating Great Famine, their firm defiance significantly interfered with Nazi operations and represented a steadfast refusal to submit to Axis dominance. However, despite their best efforts, the nation was still under occupation until October 1944. Greece's resistance was marked by a combination of civil disobedience, intelligence operations, and direct combat against occupying forces. The National Liberation Front, EAM, and its military arm, the Greek People's Liberation Army, ELAS, were among the primary resistance groups, amassing tens of thousands of members. Guerrilla warfare in the challenging Greek terrain and intelligence provided to the Allies were critical components of their resistance strategy. Finally, we have the Netherlands. In May 1940, the Netherlands found itself under the oppressive shadow of Nazi dominance. Despite their comparatively small size, the Dutch displayed an extraordinary resilience against the Nazi forces. But after an intense bombing campaign that devastated Rotterdam, and facing imminent threats to other major cities, the Netherlands was compelled to capitulate on May 15, 1940. Nevertheless, the spirit of the Dutch resistance endured, valiantly persisting throughout the long years of Nazi occupation that stretched until the country's liberation in May 1945. Resistance in the Netherlands was characterized by a diverse range of activities, aiding the Jewish population, organizing strikes, creating underground newspapers, sabotage, and gathering intelligence. The resistance movement, composed of disparate, unaffiliated groups, worked in the shadows, a silent yet potent symbol of Dutch defiance. Notably, the February strike of 1941 was a unique display of mass civil disobedience against the deportation of Jews, emphasizing Dutch solidarity in adversity. The Dutch resistance, though constrained by limited resources and the constant threat of brutal Nazi reprisals, proved a persistent thorn in the side of the occupiers. Throughout the turbulent era of World War II, Europe stood united in its fierce defiance against the relentless advance of the Nazi regime. Each nation's resistance was as unique as its heritage, molded by their individual circumstances, yet all were driven by the universal, unyielding desire for freedom. This collective bravery underscores Europe's resilient spirit, an epitome of the strength of human resolve when faced with the profound darkness of tyranny. Thank you for watching, and until next time.